have an airstrip built right next to the water.
Cool.
And the actual end of the airstrip, the concrete, and it's laid out like you would see at an airport with the lines, the taxiing areas where you have the benches or whatever where you could do your setup, and then you literally set it down right next to the bench, and there's a path with a line down the middle like a street, and it's leading right to the airstrip where other people could line up their airplanes right behind it like a professional looking airport. Right. And then they take off, and the end of the airstrip takes off over the water. So if you're not good at it and you don't pick up quick enough, you're dumping right into the water, and
you're gonna be flying a fucking boat.
You're probably not gonna retrieve it. Is the situation, because they're not light.
Right. Hey Joey, put on that lifeboat.
Right.
Jump in the water just in case.
Go after your dad's airplane. And
you train that dog to retrieve planes.
So I remember my brother we were pretty much invested into it, and we had a few planes, and my brother was already flying. My dad had one, he was flying out there, and then it came time to test my airplane. It hadn't flown yet, so they had to make sure it was ready, and there's always last minute tweaks, and you don't know how it's going to turn out once it gets up in the air. And this thing had a warp in the wing, so it was dipping to one side once it got up, and so my father was having difficulty flying it, and my brother said, no, I think my brother took it up because he was the better of everyone. And then my dad's like, let me try it out, and he's like, no, don't, you probably don't, let's bring it down before
you crash it.
Right. And so he's like, we could tweak it a little bit and then send it back up. My dad's like, oh, give me a shot. I can handle it. And my dad dumped it right into the bank of the lake, and I had never even touched it, right? I'm just sitting there watching it like mesmerized. There's the thing that I built is up in the sky. That's fucking cool. And there's the color scheme I picked, and I put flames on the wing and stuff. And it was really hard to put any kind of graphics on there because you had to cut it all out.
It's in the water.
And nosedive. Like he was trying to make a turn, and he came around. I'm watching it going. And when you're flying your model airplanes, you see the behavior of a plane about to go down, and for some reason time slows. I mean, it's up there going so slow. I mean, when it's up a certain distance away, you're watching it fly and doing little tricks up there, but when you see something, it stands out like, wow, that's not supposed to happen. All of a sudden, like, time slows down before that thing goes to the ground, and it seems like you've got so many options that you could implement at that time, but I'm watching my dad like look at it, and you can see the look on his face, and it looks like I'm like, oh, I'm in for trouble now, and I'm literally watching my blood, sweat, and tears and dreams just crash right in front of me, and it just crushed me. I got so mad, and I flipped out on my dad, and I ran into the RV because we had rented an RV up there, and he got it, and if I remember correctly, it killed the vacation because I got mad that I didn't get to fly it, and I watched it crash in front of me, and he felt so bad being responsible for it, especially because my brother's like, no, don't do it, and he's like, no, I got it, I got this. You know what? I got Wes's dreams aren't that important. I can crush them, and he can just deal with it. So I went into the RV, and I'm crying. I'm feeling so horrible. And my dad got so mad because it was all focused on him. And he's like, you know what? Fuck it. We're fucking packing everything up. We're taking this party home.
Wes, you ruined the trip.
And it felt like that. And I felt so bad. And
wow.
That was a sour little story there. But I want to just to present how funny and awkward things can be when you're growing up and looking at it from a kid's perspective and looking at it now. There's a lot of dynamics going on there. My dad trying to be the leader of the pack and he really wanted the best for me. He was like, he wanted to fly it because I had no skill to do it. So I probably wouldn't have been able to handle it even if it was flyable up there.
Right.
So, it hurt, man, and created a little resentment, and I'm sure my dad, if he hears this, he'll get a chuckle out of it, and we'll be able to talk about that later. But that was one little situation. But let me tell another story just to turn it around and make it a little bit more exciting. I remember living in our house in Lakeview Terrace, and one day my father needed to do something with the fuse box, which connected to the power source at the telephone pole, the electric pole, where the cable runs down to your house directly to the fuses, and it had those old school like 3-inch long bad boy fuses, with the old school electric chair switch where you grab the handle and you push it down, you pull it and it angles back down, and it connects to the other side, or it disconnects.
It squeaks while
It wasn't a button, it wasn't a switch, it was the big old handle thing, man. And I remember him reaching in to change the fuse and pull it out, and I don't think he had cut off the power source. I think he was just adjusting it, and he arced it by manually touching it. In the split second of the lights going out and this blue arc coming off of the source and touching my dad, and this was not 110 out of the outlet. This is 220 coming from the pole. So that's a lot of juice.
Fuck yeah, it's a lot of juice.
It was enough force going through his body that it gave him such a muscle spasm. It threw him. And if I remember correctly, we had our washer and dryer placed in front of the cupboards. The cupboards were to the left and above the washer and dryer. So in order to get to them, you had to pull the door like past and over the dryer. And so they're kind of at your left shoulder while you're looking to your left at the source. To get a better angle at it, you could climb up on top of the dryer and kind of squat on it, and you'll be facing it. I remember it arcing and pushing him back over the washer, past the dryer, up against the wall. And I mean, the lights go out and the blue flame, and he's literally being thrown back like 3 or 4 feet against the wall.
He's lucky he got thrown back and it didn't hold on to him.
Or he could have stopped his heart right then and there. And he was in shock, and he was phased, and his hair was all messed up, and we all got scared. I mean, it's that thing when when somebody gets really fucked up, and for the first like millisecond you're scared to death, and then you're exhilarated at the fact that nothing bad happened, and so it immediately turns into the most funniest situation you've ever seen, except for the person that it's fucking happening to. And we still get a chuckle out of that situation, and I'll never forget it. And I can't imagine how that must feel when you have that much electricity running through your fucking body.
I remember one time I must have been 4 or 5, I think. 4 or 5 years old. And we lived on Whitram, which we actually had a tree house out back, a nice tree house and stuff. But I remember my dad had a friend, and his name was Bongo. That was his name, Bongo. And he had this huge ZZ Top, beard going on, like 14 inches, just real thick, And they're working on my dad. My dad had an Impala back then. And I remember Bongo was pouring gas into the carburetor. And my dad's starting the car, trying to start it. So I guess it started it, but it popped, and that flame that comes up from the carburetor caught the tip of caught the tip of Bongo's beard. So he's like trying to just throw it out, right? He's like with his hands waving, and my dad jumps out of his car. My dad jumps out of the car, and he had an old Coca-Cola bottle, and it had soda in it. And he like shakes it up, and he starts spraying it on the beard.
It's hilarious. That's funny.
He goes, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" He goes, "Do you want me to let you burn? What the fuck am I doing?" That's
hilarious. Love
that. But those were some fun times, man. Because you had asked me like before the show, you said, because we talked about doing the Father's Day special. You said I said I really can't think of any good times that I really had with my dad. But you know what? After I said that, I realized, my childhood wasn't the greatest childhood, but it was my childhood, you know, and nobody can take that from me, you know. And good times, bad times, whatever they were, they're good, you know. And looking back on it, you know what, my dad taught me a lot more than what I give him credit for, you know. He's had its moments, and he knows it. He knows he's, you know, he'll admit it, you know. He drank for like, he quit drinking at 36. Up until that point, you know, he was a raging alcoholic. You know what I mean? When he was around, you know, he was drunk, and he did it. I guess I got to a point where I just kind of said, you know what? Quit blaming your fucking parents for all your bullshit. You know what I mean? But I have so much ammo that I can live off of, you know, just doing that. You know what I mean? What he taught me was you know, the techniques for survival. You know what I mean? Like if there's a fucking Armageddon, is that what they call it? Armageddon, and the world goes into chaos and total anarchy, you know? Mm-hmm. And I have to like survive.
Apocalypse.
I mean, I can do it because he taught me those survival skills, you know what I mean? And so he was never one for fishing, you know, but I remember we'd go up to the shooting range up in Lido Creek, you know, him and my uncles, and I'd go up there and they'd go shooting, you know, and you know, a lot of my childhood, I was raised by my Uncle Tony. God rest his soul. He died in 07. He passed away in 07. And he was a big father figure to me, you know what I mean? He was at all my baseball games, you know. He taught me how to swim, you know. He's the one who showed me how to make spaghetti and chicken, and you know, and so he was a big influence in my life, you know. He really was. And so you know, not to take anything from my father, take anything away from that, but you know, I want to give credit where credit is due, you know. And my uncle did. He really did. He if it wasn't for him, I probably would have never pursued my attempt at a career in art or music, you know. He's growing up. He's the one. He was very boisterous and very flamboyant, you know. And he's the one who showed me that, you know what, never be intimidated by anything, and don't ever be afraid to show your true colors, you know, and to just be yourself and to do things, you know, and you know, that's one of the reasons why I take my nephews and stuff to the movies, or I try to spend as much time as I can with my son, you know, because I want him to, I want to be that good father too, you know what I mean? I want to be that father figure too, you know. Also break the cycle of the chaos that I went through, you know what I mean? I want to break that chain, you know, and because, you know, I can come up with 1,000 fucked up memories that I had, you know what I mean? But those few good memories that I do have, you know, I remember them, you know what I mean? Father's Day would come around, and I would give my mom a Father's Day card, you know, because she basically raised me, you know, up, you know. But like I said, I think this year will be the first year that I'm actually gonna get my dad a Father's Day card, you know what I mean? And it's just, I guess it's just showing me that we're growing, you know, we're growing as people, and trying to be better people, you know what I mean? Because it's easy to hate, you know. It's easy to hate. You can hate anybody, you know. But to compromise with people and to forgive people and to learn to move on, I think it's just a lesson learned in life, you know. So with that being said, you know, again, I just want to say Happy Father's Day to my dad, and I love your airplane story, dude. That's some wild shit, man. I can just see you, you know, doing that, you know, with the and then, you know.
It's inevitable. That day happens whenever you're flying. Eventually, that day is going to happen.
Right.
It's expected, and a lot of times you can rebuild it, but it
costs so much money.
No, the balsa is cheap, and you'd be surprised at how much those little components can take the damage of falling from the sky and hitting the ground. A lot of the times you can salvage the engine and then all the electric parts, and it's just literally taking